It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer from Sinebrychoff. My apologies for the terrible pronunciation of this Finnish craft beer. It's a can of their Karhu Speltti IPA, coming in at 5.3% ABV in a 500 milliliter can, a half-litre can. Without further ado, let's get it out into a glass, see what we get. Many thanks to the lovely Finnish person from Finland who was kind enough to send me this beer. Cheers to you. Okay, we got a 2-finger, slightly off-white head, slow-moving carbonation. It's an amber, slightly hazy amber coloured beer. Let's get the aroma. Smells okay, a little bit traditional. You're getting quite a lot of malt. A spicy, peppery malt. The spicy and the pepperiness would be coming from the hops, but then you get like a toffee malt aroma. But I imagine this is just like one of the. I mean, I've been to many kind of Scandinavian countries where the bigger breweries put in kind of like 4.7% ABV. Certainly in Norway. Big cans of what they call crafty beer, and this seems to be, just looking at it, this seems to be crafty beer. This seems to be like from a large Finnish brewery that they've chucked some hops in the beer and called it an IPA and chucked it into the supermarket just to see how it goes. And of course, there's quite a big craft beer drinking crowd all over the world now. If somebody's intrigued by this, then they're going to pick it up. Yeah, but like, it's slightly herbal, peppery and spicy, and then malty. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. Quite interesting. It's quite interesting. I mean, to begin with, the first 3 seconds of the taste was like, big malt bomb. This is a big malt bomb, and they've called it an IPA. And then something happens. It's like, oh, okay. They've got the malt build slightly wrong. I mean, if you're a regional brewer, I've been to many regional breweries, should I say, and they have like sacks and sacks and sacks of this stuff. The malt I'm talking about. They're like the best bitter malts, the grains that they use in their beer on a regular basis for their ales and their bitters. And I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, why should we get in some new malt to satisfy I mean, because really it should be Pilsner malt or real pale malts that they should be using to brew an IPA. I think anyway, certainly this day and age, they've gone, oh, we'll carry on using the malt that we have in our brewery, but we'll add a load of hops to it and we'll see what happens, and we'll call it an IPA because an IPA technically is a beer that's been kind of quite heavily hopped to originally get the beer to India. It was a higher strength ABV beer, and they put a few hops in it, or quite a few hops in it. Hops was a form of a preservative. It would make the beer last longer, and then that beer then would make its way all the way over to India. That's the name, IPA, India Pale Ale. That's why it's called India Pale Ale. So technically it's an IPA, but in this day and age, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to kind of like really get to grips with it. There's too much beginning. There's way too much beginning. It's almost like a big malt barrier that the hops have to kind of like try and climb over. It's like doing one of those action runs where you get a t-shirt at the end if you manage to finish one of these crazy runs that they do, climbing over all sort of obstacles and getting all muddy and stuff. I would have done it years ago myself, but not anymore. But yeah, it's like there's a big malt wall, and that big malt wall needs to come down a bit, quite a lot actually. It's biscuity, it's bready, it's nutty, it's very pleasant. It's very pleasant, but you want to be, this day and age, you want to be hit with a wall of hops, not a wall of malt. You want juicy grapefruit and orange peel and fleshy blood orange and spiciness and pepperiness. It's hoppy, but you're really having to kind of like tune your brain into the hops. You're almost telling your taste buds and your brain to like block out the amount of malt that's in the beer. But it looks okay. It looks okay. It's slightly hazy. They've made that little bit of an effort to try and make it slightly hazy. It's way too sweet. Way too sweet. And then by the time, I mean, if you've been drinking IPAs for years and years, or maybe even just a year, and you're really used to drinking these beautiful New England IPAs now, or New World IPAs, I'm going to call them, then the malt would seriously spoil the sensation, the excitement for the beer. Let's try and find you some hops on the back end. They're there, but it's just trying to block out the malt. Peppery, spicy, slightly kind of orangey and grapefruity. But then the sweetness just keeps hitting you. It's like, it's just attacking you from every angle, and it's not giving the hops the stage that they need. The hops need an empty floor area with two big lights shining down on them, and they need to be the star of the show. Not like you go to the stage and there's piles of chairs everywhere and there's no room to work type of thing. So thank you very much to the lovely person in Finland to send me the beer. I hope you don't mind my honest opinion with this Karhu Speltti IPA. I'm going to drink it. I'm going to tell myself it's a decent best bitter, and I'm going to drink it to myself tonight, and I'm not going to tell myself it's an IPA, and I'll finish the beer and it'll be fine. But in terms of IPA go, it's a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box, subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews, give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom! Cheers.